welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrosch, and today's episode is going to be about Harold E. Wilson. And this episode is brought to you today by The Bearded Detailer. Visit thebeardeddetailer.com for all your automotive detailing solutions, and be sure to use the promo code TOH10 for 10% off your order. For all orders that use that promo code, 75% of the profits are going to be donated to the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. Good stuff. And now, a tale of honor. Harold E. Wilson was born December 5th, 1921, in Birmingham, Alabama. He enlisted in the Marine Corps and was part of Company G, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marine Division. He served in Korea as a technical sergeant. For gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving as platoon sergeant of a rifle platoon attached to Company G in action against enemy aggressor forces on the night of 23-24, April 1951. When the company outpost was overrun by the enemy while his platoon, firing from hastily constructed foxholes, was engaged in resisting the brunt of a fierce mortar, machine gun, grenade, and small arms attack launched by hostile forces from high ground under cover of darkness, Tech Sergeant Wilson braved intense fire to assist the survivors back into the line and direct the treatment of casualties. Although twice wounded by gunfire in the right arm and the left leg, he refused medical aid for himself and continued to move about among his men, shouting words of encouragement. After receiving further wounds in the head and the shoulder, as the attack increased in intensity, he again insisted upon remaining with his unit. Unable to use either arm to fire, and with mounting casualties among our forces, he resupplied his men with rifles and ammunition taken from the wounded. Personally reporting to his company commander on several occasions, he requested and received additional assistance when the enemy attack became even more fierce, and, after placing the reinforcements in strategic positions in the line, directed effective fire until blown off his feet by the bursting of a hostile mortar round in his face. Dazed and suffering from concussion, he still refused medical aid, and despite weakness from loss of blood, moved from foxhole to foxhole, directing fire, resupplying ammunition, rendering first aid, and encouraging his men. By his heroic actions in the face of almost certain death, when the unit's ability to hold the disadvantageous position was doubtful, he instilled confidence in his troops, inspiring them to rally repeatedly and turn back the furious assaults. At dawn, after the final attack had been repulsed, he personally accounted for each man in his platoon before walking unassisted half a mile to the aid station where he submitted to treatment. His outstanding courage, initiative, and skilled leadership in the face of overwhelming odds were contributing factors in the success of his company's mission and reflect the highest credit upon Technical Sergeant Harold E. Wilson and the United Naval Service. Technical Sergeant Wilson was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor on April 11th, 1952. And that was a tale of honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor Podcast. If you like this podcast, be sure to leave a nice review, a rating, and tell a friend. You can see more information on Facebook, Instagram, and at thebeardeddetailer.com/TOH podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to tohpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrosch. Thanks for listening.